Hi everybody, I'm back and I have another quick little project to share with you. I made a little doily mini and I followed the tutorial that Maggie White made. Thank you, Maggie, so much for putting up that tutorial. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't seen that tutorial. I probably wouldn't have made one because I didn't have any idea how they were put together. And Maggie explained it so well, and she did such a good job of putting together that series for doing that little doily book. So thank you again, Maggie, so much. So let me show you what I came up with following her instructions. She's a good teacher, so hopefully I was a good student. We'll see. So this is what I came up with. It's a little bit thicker than I wanted it to be, but I guess it kind of makes sense for all the stuff that I put inside. So, but this is the cover, and I don't have very many pretty small doilies, so I had to be a little bit creative and use some of my laces in place of where Maggie would have put doilies, because I just didn't have any. So there is a doily buried in here on this cover, but it's one of those little plain white doilies. You can see the tips of it kind of peeking out right there. But I just completely covered it with all the things that are on the cover of this book. So I started out with putting the doily down, and then I added these white applique petals that you see sticking out right here from part of a flower, and then there's a pink flower there with the pearls in the center, and then there's a clay flower tucked in there. This is one of those rosette trim flowers, and I've got a pretty piece of bling in the center, and then there's lace also in here. You can see it sticking out right there, and there's a piece of it here, but it goes all the way around. There's more of it here, and there's a little applique right there. It's tucked in, and there's some organza fabric in there, and I have some pearls that are kind of winding through here, and I tied them with some tulle to this puffy heart. It's a metal silver heart, and then I added this metal feather, and it's got some rhinestones that go down the center of it. So I think that's pretty much it, and then I just finished it by putting some large pearls all around the edge, and then this pretty gathered tulle that's running all around there. And then for the dangly bits down here, I took a bridle applique. These are two different bridle applique pieces that I just glued together to make it look like one. And looking at it on the camera is kind of funny. It looks like eyes. I didn't notice that till just now. But those pearls and the sequins were already there in the eyes. And then the nose is a little pearl and some rhinestones, and I guess this would be the mouth down here. I'm just being silly, but anyway, I added some flat backs around there and around here, and I also colored this with this glimmer mist that's called Wedding Pink, because it was these pieces were white to begin with, or an off-white. So that's it, and then I've just got lots of dangly laces down here, and then I tied the book together with some seam binding. There's a seam binding bow here, and there's another one here, and then I added some beaded dangles here, and that's it there. And then for the back, I've got this really pretty bow applique, and it had already the beads and the sequins on there when I bought that applique piece. It's really a pretty piece. And then I do have a doily behind it, and then I've got some more applique pieces that I put underneath here, underneath the bow tails. And then more dangly stuff hanging down there, and some more tulle going around the edge. And I think that's caught. I'll have to untangle that. The tulle is actually caught on that strand of beads. But that's how thick my book came out. So there's a lot going on in this little book. So let's get started. Let me show you the first 2 pages. Here I've got this really pretty rose applique piece, and the leaves are attached to it, and I left the leaves white. I only painted the flower, and even this part is kind of a, you know, 2-dimensional flower. And I added the rhinestone piece there in the center. It's a very, very pretty applique piece. And then I just embellished the leaves with some flat back pearls. And then underneath that applique, there's a Battenberg doily under there. And I don't have very many small, pretty doilies, so there are very few in here. I did use doilies for the base of the book. And let me show you real quick. These are the doilies that I used, and they're pretty good size. You can see it's bigger than my hand. It's, you know, it's quite big. And I knew when I got these that they were too big. So what I did is I cut off almost an inch. I just trimmed off about an inch all the way around, and then I used what was left. So I've got that edge left over that I can use, you know, for other projects. And there are 2 of these to make a page, so there are 2 of them in there. Just like Maggie's tutorial, I used 2 doilies, and then I put it's like a batting in between the 2 doilies. So they're quite thick, and these pages are they have some weight to them. They're quite weighty. So that's what I used inside. So in addition to that, I'm not sure where I left off at, but I had the Battenberg doily under there, and then I had this pretty pleated fabric trim with the scalloped edges that's going around there. And then I added this other pretty applique piece across the bottom here, and I sprayed that one also with the wedding pink. And then more doilies down here. And then for the next page, this is one of the pages where I didn't have a pretty doily to use behind the picture. So I had a rose applique, and that's what you see sticking out around there as part of a rose. And so I put that down and then put the picture on top of it. And then I added this beautiful applique piece across the bottom here. And I just added that really pretty button there in the center, the pearl and the rhinestone button in the center there. And then I finished it out with some more tulle. So that's those pages. Now for the next 2 pages, on this page, this was one large applique piece, and I cut it apart, and then I used it to frame around the picture. And it's a picture of a cup and saucer, and there's a teapot there, and then there's a beautiful arrangement of lavender, looks like hydrangeas in the picture. And then this is a little ribbon flower that I bought, and I sprayed it also with that wedding pink. And I've got a dangling flower here. This one I sprayed with another glimmer mist, and it's called Periwinkle Bouquet. And then I just finished it off with the flat back pearls, and then a little organza flower in the center there. And then I've got some more flat back pearls hanging down here on this part. Okay, and then for the next page, I've got a shabby flower that I made, and I also took some of the scraps and painted those also with that same color of this flower here, and tucked them in. There's one there and a few little flowers up there. And then I took another bridal applique piece and cut it apart and used it to frame behind the flower there because I didn't have another pretty doily to use. And you know, I guess this really isn't a doily book. There's not a whole lot of doilies in there, but there are doilies in the base of the book, so I'll say that. And then it's got this another pretty bridal applique piece hanging down here. And then the next page, I made this little flower from some ribbon. I think I used 5/8 of an inch ribbon to make that size flower. And that flower is probably about 2 inches across. And then I put behind it some more applique pieces, and there's another doily there. And then if you pull that back, you can actually see the other doilies. I have a piece of lace fabric on top of the doily, but you can see that there are doilies under there. So then there's more lace around there, and then another dangle down here that has some clay flowers on it, on this part down here. And then I have the little applique leaves, which have some flat back pearls, and I sprayed those with the wedding pink. And then these little dangling leaves here, I sprayed those with this color, this meadow color. I didn't like it. It was too dark. So I rinsed them out, and all of the color didn't wash out. And then I sprayed it with this one. And this one is Money Bags. And so it's kind of the combination of the two greens together that gave me this really pretty, it's a real light green color. And then I've put some flat back pearls on all of the little dangles down there. And then I made a pretty little beaded tassel over here. And then the last page is a pocket page. And this piece right here goes all the way down to here. And see, it has a satin fabric in there. And it's, you know, got the embroidery stitching all around the edges. And it came with these pearls on there and this pearl in the center, and I just added the other pearls. And then I added this little dangle down here that's got rhinestones and flat back pearls on it. And in the pocket, I just tucked in a little tag that has a picture of another teapot, the cream and the sugar, and some candlesticks. And on the back, there's another little rose applique that I sprayed with the wedding pink. And I don't remember what green that I used for that color. But it's different from the other greens that I showed you. And then I just used some lace that I had to cover that doily page there. And then I put flat backs in the center of each of the little flowers. So that's it. That's my doily book. And hopefully, Maggie, I did a good job. Hopefully I was a good student and did you proud. So that's my doily book. And thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed seeing what I made. And also thank you for subscribing. I'm really surprised at how many subscribers that I have right now. I think I might be at 20, which I know is not a lot, but you know, last time I checked, I think I had like 12, and then all of a sudden it jumped to 20. So I'm so excited. I don't know how I'm getting out there, but I'm glad somebody's watching my videos. So thanks so much, and take care, guys. I will talk to you soon. Bye.